Shall we?
Let's do this.
Let's do this thing. Everybody, welcome back to the Dom and Pop DC Sports Talk Plus podcast day after Christmas edition. Got a lot to talk about. We're going to get right into it. Pop, how you doing, man?
I know one thing. It's better to look good than to feel good, son.
Yes, sir.
You
Look
looking
good,
sharp.
feel good, play good.
New Dom and Pop t-shirts.
Check that out. New Dom and Pop t-shirts. I'm sure that was not on the mic enough for the people to hear, but we got the new Dom and Pop t-shirts. Shout out our marketing department, ever growing, for hooking it up yesterday. Great gift. We're blessed to be here and celebrate.
And if you'd
Christmas.
like one, just hit us up on the comments. We making you a good price.
There you go, Pop. I like that. Very good. So, lot to talk about on the Commanders front, man. Lot to talk about.
How things change in a couple weeks.
How things change in a couple weeks, for sure. Definitely a lot to get into here. Let's start with, I guess, just reactions from the San Francisco game, right? Get into that. Man, we got smoked. That was tough.
It was tough. I mean, I think the score wasn't reflective as competitive as the game could have been. I got a little bit of a point to bring up there.
All right.
That I'd like to kind of run through, and also, football on Christmas Eve, especially late football on Christmas Eve, kind of sucks.
Yeah. Football on Christmas Eve is not ideal. I mean,
No.
It's just you're either gonna be at church or you're gonna be at a dinner or you're gonna be at some kind of situation.
I've tried pulling the fire alarm at church, but it didn't work.
Yeah, I heard
they fought through it.
That's a fine print situation when the fire alarm goes off. Can you check the score?
Not true.
But yeah, I mean, it was tough. First half was competitive, and I had this. It just had this feeling as it was happening that was like, I don't know if we can hang on to this one.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to steal it, and we didn't steal it. We ended up getting smacked. Taylor Heineke comes out second half, 2 turnovers, hits the pine. And all of a sudden, the Red Rocket of DC, Mr. Carson Wentz,
he's
taken back over at quarterback. How do we feel about
people.
that, man? That was a tough one. I have my theories. You have your theories. Do you want to start? You want me to start?
I don't know how to feel. You can go ahead.
I think Ron, and this is something that was talked about on the radio leading up to it this week, but I think that Ron knew we're going up against San Francisco's defense. If Heineke balls, he's in a win-win scenario. Because if Heineke balls out, then great. We win the game. Heineke's the guy. Save the season. And then all we have to do is split these next 2 games. If Heineke comes out and deuces his pants, well, we got smacked. It's the 49ers. It's a game we kind of expected to lose. And we slide Wentz in, which is what I think Ron wanted from the beginning. I think Ron's hand was forced to stick with Heineke because of how well he was playing, and then how well the team was playing as a whole. And I think Heineke really lost that starting job in the second New York game where he was just terrible. Whole offense was terrible, ineffective. And I think Ron looked at it and he said, let's see, back up against the wall. Let's see if he can go out there and do something. And if not, I got my built-in excuse for the game going bad anyways. We can go to Wentz, and we're not sending Wentz out against Nick Bosa and the best defense in the NFL to get murdered. And then he gets a much softer start against Cleveland next week. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's a tough one, right? Because, again, we went back and we looked at the stats, and, you look at statistically, they're almost 2 identical quarterbacks, right? Even in the game, we look at the statistics for the game. And it is a little easier. I mean, it's not necessarily easy to come off the bench. You got to give Carson credit that he was ready, and he did play well. But
Sure.
From a defensive perspective, when you're coming in and they've got a big lead, the intensity of the game, although they did seem to bring a lot of pressure and he seemed to deal with that well, it's just not the same situation. But I think, given this some thought, I think if the season was to start today, and this is the difficulty of the situation we're in, I think if the season was to start today, there would be no doubt that Carson Wentz would be the starting quarterback. And I think that would have been true 3 weeks ago, right? But it's just the ebb and flow of the season and the course of the season. I think, the one thing that I've always struggled with is, and I'm not on the page of like screaming and yelling and saying I think it should be Carson or I think it should be Taylor. Because to be honest with you, I don't feel that passionately about either one being the starter.
Yeah.
But I think that at the end of the day, you can't take away the situation of they traded for Carson Wentz. He's clearly the more talented quarterback, when you come to in terms of a classic skill set. I found myself, in watching the game, lured back into looking at him like it's kind of like that shiny new car, expensive sports car that might break down a lot. But when you look at it sitting in the driveway or you take it for a quick spin, you go, gosh, that's what a quarterback in the NFL should look like. And when you look at Carson Wentz and you look at his talent, you say that's what an NFL, it's almost an ideal portrait of an NFL quarterback. You'd like him to be a little bit more mobile than he is at this stage of his career. But, I think that's the best way I could say it. I don't know that there's any great advantage of starting one quarterback over the other at this point. But I think it's pretty clear that and I agree with you. I think they wanted to go back to Carson because he's a starting quarterback. I mean, he's the starting quarterback of this team, And I think the thing with Taylor is you got to love his heart. You got to love what he brings. But what he brings is you as moments. He doesn't bring you sustained success. And we're simply not putting points on the board. And I do think to some degree, the coaching is impacted by the player. They're afraid to completely turn it loose with Taylor at quarterback because they're afraid of the mistakes that he's going to make.
Yeah, I mean, lot to unpack there. I agree with the analogy of like the sports car almost. Is like this thing is almost completely impractical for a day-to-day commuter. There's no way Carson Wentz quarterbacks you through 17 games to a playoff schedule. I just don't think that happens this year anymore. But he's 6'5". He's got a huge arm. He can make every throw. Doesn't always make them, but he has the physical ability to. He's got those flashy moments. Whereas you look at somebody like Taylor, and it's okay. He's very limited in what he can do physically, and you see a lot of the same decision-making errors. I think what broke down for me with Taylor that was different when he was coming in more of the relief role is that, and I think it's pretty common what you'll see with these guys is they start pretty vanilla with the playbook. They keep it pretty simple. He was going to his first and second read. He was checking the ball. Remember how many pass yards Antonio Gibson had in those first couple of games when the streak started up? He's getting rid of the ball quickly. He's checking it down. First opportunity he gets. He's not forcing the ball downfield. And then the more and more starts that Taylor got, we started to see the Heineke of last year, which is a lot of errant decision-making, crazy throws into triple, quadruple coverage, a lot of the things that we knock Wentz for. And I think, unfortunately, we see the two of them kind of regress to that same spot. And I think we're both in agreement that the quarterback of the future is not on this roster. And I think what worries me with the Wentz situation is he comes in and he plays just well enough that we want to give him another shot next year and we forget about those 6 games. That makes me nervous. But
if you could only bring back one quickly, and you had to bring back one of the two quarterbacks and forget about salary, like let's say the salary situation works itself out to where it's a reasonable salary, but you could only bring back one of the two, who would you bring back? And you have to bring back one.
Taylor. Because Taylor
I think I'd bring back Carson Wentz.
Because Taylor,
I'm going to give you my reason in a second.
Can I give you my reason first?
Sure.
So Taylor is supposed to be a backup quarterback. No matter where Carson Wentz is, for the rest of his career, this is the problem. He was the number 2 pick overall in the draft, top 5 pick, took a team, he had an MVP caliber year. No matter where Carson Wentz is, it's going to be trying to slam a square peg into a round hole and trying to make that guy the starter. I don't want that. Whoever takes over next year has got to be better than either of those two guys. I hope it's Jimmy Garoppolo. And
oh my God,
Taylor Heineke.
You got to save that for another pod.
Taylor Heineke is going to be okay with being the backup, and he's perfect as a backup in that role, that guy that comes off the bench, can run really simple offense, give the team the spark, save the game when you need to. He's not, but you can't sustain 16 games starting, but if your quarterback pulls his calf or he twists an ankle and he's out for 3-4 weeks, you feel pretty okay. I mean, it's exactly what happened this year.
Yeah, I mean,
you feel pretty okay about him taking
I see
over.
your point, and I think we're 10 minutes in on just doing quarterback stuff, and we haven't even broke the game down yet. But it's okay.
It's
That's
the nature of how
Commander fans do.
Well, we got blown out and they put Carson back in, so it's kind of the nature of how it's the big story.
I
don't want to bury the lead.
maintain my point of view, which has always been the case of that. I don't think we've gotten to see Carson Wentz really develop with this team. And unfortunately, whether a guy's a veteran or he's a rookie or he's a third-year guy that's just getting his first chance to start, it takes time for a quarterback to come into a new system and a new team and for the team to develop. This is not the same defense that started the season with Carson Wentz. It might be the same poor offensive line, but coaching is adjusted to the offensive line with Taylor, realizing that there's limitations there to some degree. And the running game has improved greatly. So I just don't think that we've seen everything that Carson Wentz could be in this offense. And yes, that talent does, and I also think that he's shown an ability to change and learn to a degree, right? I don't think he's necessarily the same guy he was 2 years ago that thought his talent could carry him over. So I might be in a absolute minority, but I wouldn't have an absolute. Listen, it's going to depend on what we see the next few games. So we should probably save this conversation to the end of the season. Depending on what we send in the next few games, we can come to a conclusion, on what we should do next year. But I mean, anyway, I think Carson's going to be the starter. Don't know, if that's really going to help us or benefit us. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, there's no official announcement, but I think the combination of you look at the 2 turnovers that Taylor had, the one fumble where Bosa's kind of getting him on the blind side, I almost don't even blame him for it. It's like Bosa is just going to make plays like that at certain points in the game. And even Ron said, those turnovers weren't necessarily Taylor's fault in the press conference. So I think the combination of Ron...
the interception was awful.
Yeah, the interception was awful. But I think the combination of Ron almost giving Taylor some credit while benching him at the same time.
Listen,
I think that almost indicates it's a guarantee that Wentz is going to take over.
If Wentz gets hit and fumble that ball, everybody's killing him. The bottom line, you got to protect the ball.
Yep,
and,
100%.
And that sack was in a situation where the pocket was breaking down and there needs to be better awareness. It wasn't one of those scenarios where, like the week before where he dropped back and just got smashed, or the first time he fumbled, right? So I just think it's I don't think we could take away blame for the fumble from Taylor. He's got to protect the ball better.
You're getting caught on the setup. I'm talking about Ron saying, I think the fact that Ron said, hey, back off Taylor, turnovers weren't necessarily his fault, played well in the first half. I think that he says that in the press conference, but then still goes to Wentz. I think that indicates we're going to see Carson Wentz. And at the end of the day, this is how I think we'll close this segment. $30 million. $30 million. Spent
and the trade.
And the trade. You spent an entire offseason talking about we're going to get our quarterback. We're going to make a big splash. He has the meltdown after the Bears game. I'm the effing guy. It was my call. I watched the tape. Really weird thing to brag about, but fine. It's going to be Carson Wentz. I think there's just no possible way.
But it's a really difficult situation because what are you going to evaluate in 2 games left? 2. Like it's unfortunate because of the injury or whatever happened, but we'll have to see. He's going to have to step up and play well. I mean, I do want to make one key point about the game. At the end, we lost 37-20, right?
Yep.
17 points. But at one point it was 30-20, right? Wentz comes in and gets that touchdown drive and give Taylor credit. He led a couple of really nice drives, and on first and goal at the 5, he's not responsible for the fact that they called 4 straight run plays, right? Whether we agree with that or not. But you think about this, right? You say, okay, 17 points, maybe call it 10 points before that onside kick. We lost 7 points on that 4th and 1 on the goal line. In my opinion, you should take 3. So let's call that +3. 4th and 1, at the Commanders 35 and we go for it. Why?
Reckless.
Why?
Reckless.
Okay. And we've talked about Ron's situational awareness and trying to be riverboat Ron. Makes no sense. Pretty much hand them 7 points. That's 10 points. Obviously a turnover and a sack fumble. That's another 3 points. Give the defense credit for holding them to the 3. And then, of course, the interception, another 3 points. And we just gave away the game. We gave it away on those situations. And some of it had to do with quarterback, but some of it had to do with just really poor coaching decisions. There's nothing wrong with going for 3 and taking the lead in a game like that. It's a momentum changer. And yeah, they drive 99 yards and make a big play, but maybe they don't do that if we score and we take the lead.
Well, and the drive before, San Francisco goes all the way down to the 1. We make a goal line stand. We drive it all the way back down the field. Goal line stand. Or no, we played the field position game a little bit, but then we're basically in the same position. A few drives later, going back and forth, punt, whatever. We're in the same exact position. Still 0-0 at this point. You have the opportunity to take the points, take the advantage, say, hey, you guys blew it. And at this point, the defenses are looking pretty evenly matched. Nothing crazy is broken yet. And instead, and you should know in your head, San Francisco's got all the playmakers in the world. We're missing our best player on the second and third level of the ball and the first level most of the time. And we've got to contain this team, and we got to take our points where we can get them, because this is the best defense in the NFL. And I see the thinking in that, hey, we've got them backed up on half a yard. This is the best defense in the NFL. Let's see if we can squeeze 7, because 7 is going to be so hard for the rest of the game. But then maybe second, third, and fourth down, you don't run the ball to the exact same spot where you're getting beat all day long. Maybe you change the play call up. I agree with you. You take 3 there. I think you also look at that drop pass by Jahan Dotson, the first pass of the game. That could have been 7. Should have been 7. He dropped that ball because he was already looking upfield and he realized he had a touchdown.
Yeah.
And Jahan had a phenomenal game after that. I don't want to take anything away from him, but you look at how what a great play call to start the game. What a great opportunity. What a great look. Can you imagine you come out and you hit them in the mouth for 7-0 on the first play of the game? What a way to set the tone. So to sum it all up in what is probably the number one catchphrase at every press conference, missed opportunities.
Ton of missed opportunities.
Missed opportunities, but the better team won, I think, at the end of the day. And
can't argue that.
If we want to look going down the road here, 2 games left. We're what? 7-8, 7-7-1?
Yeah.
At this point. 2 games left. Somehow we still control our own destiny, because every team that could have had the opportunity to overtake us lost. Saw Green Bay win yesterday. Now they're a part of the conversation as well. And like I said, somehow we control our own destiny, and we've got the Cleveland Browns, who are miserable. We feared maybe Watson comes in by this point in the year. Maybe he can give them a boost. He looks terrible. And then we got the Dallas Cowboys, who are making a strong argument for being the best team in football.
Right.
And we've got to at least split these games to have a chance. We got to split these games and get some help, or we got to win both if we really want to get
splitting the games and going 8-1 and getting into the playoffs does not excite me.
It's the Rivera way.
Got to win them both.
That is the Rivera way. You got to win them both. There's talk of maybe the Cowboys are benching Dak. The Cowboys kicked our ass with Cooper Rush. Who cares?
You got to win them both, because I also got to figure out, you got 3 teams, right? You got the Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and the Seattle Seahawks. It's pretty good chance one of them wins the last 2 games.
Yeah, and Detroit's got a cakewalk of a schedule.
Yeah.
So
are we going to do our post-game awards?
Yeah. Let's do it. I don't know if you had them picked out. I didn't see them, but
I mean, I had the top performers for me were the top 3 all wide receivers. They each scored a touchdown. And they all, I thought, played a really good game. And then Chase Young, right? I think Chase Young had we didn't even get to that, but his first game back, ended up playing 30 snaps. I think it was somewhere in there. It was our highest rated player, period, by PFF. He looked really good in his comeback. I think he deserves for if nothing else, for a year and a half of rehab and how hard he worked to get back and finally get back on the field, he at least deserves a helmet sticker. But
Definitely.
I think I'd go with Terry for the Sauce Award.
I was going to go Jahan.
Talked about his drop.
Terry, yeah,
Big
I guess
drop.
You know what? Big drop is that's a good point, Pop. Jahan Dotson, I'm so excited about. I think
am too.
We've got
But I think Terry really came on track. I mean, maybe Jahan made better plays at the port of the game that really mattered, although we were still in it when Terry got his touchdown. Anyway.
Catches that Terry made were, I think, a higher degree of difficulty, aside from that one bobble catch.
And he had more yards, too.
Yeah. So we'll go with Terry for the Sauce Award. I like that. Jahan.
I mean, you got a fresh, nice white Commanders.
I do. Maybe
Terry
you guys will
McLaurin
see it
jersey.
next week.
Santa treated you well this year?
Yes, sir. Santa did. Santa took good care of me. But, yeah, I'm cool with that. So we'll go Sauce Award, Terry McLaurin, some incredible catches, that deep ball, and then Taylor goes right back to him in the red zone for a touchdown. Why do we not just force the ball to McLaurin in the red zone here and there? I mean, we talk about all this red zone difficulty, and it just feels like such self-inflicted wounds because we have so many playmakers. There's no way they can't cover all of them.
Yeah.
But whatever. Terry McLaurin, Sauce Award. Great plays there. Jahan Dotson, helmet sticker. You want to give Curtis Samuel a helmet sticker? I'm cool with that. And then we'll toss one to Chase Young as well, who's super exciting to see him back in action and hopefully give us that push. He's talking about wanting to be a big factor deep in the playoffs. Well, we got to get there first.
Yeah, and it was a little disappointing how our defense got carved up overall in some of those drives. I thought the defense was really the key to this game. You know, we knew we weren't going to put up a ton of points against San Francisco. But just get, in the end, and I know we gave them a lot of short fields, but giving up 37 points overall was a killer.
I said it. It was a little bit of foreshadowing a couple weeks ago when Cam Curl was our leading tackler. And I said, not the best sign when a defensive back is the leading tackler. That's a little nerve-wracking because that means plays are getting to the second and third level. And that's usually Cam Curl is going to be your last line of defense from a big play. And then what's the play that really turns the game in San Francisco's favor? Big gadget play to Ray McLeod, bust through first and second levels of the defense, and there is nobody home between the second and third level. And I hate to boil it down to one player, but you look at that and you go, that is just Cam Curl land. That's where Cam Curl comes up and he cracks them for 11 yards, and you go, what a great open field tackle. Thank God.
No, we clearly missed him a lot.
When you lose the best safety in the NFL, you're going to hurt. And we hurted. That's where we're at there. We're hurting a little bit here day after Christmas as well. But, enough about that game. Let's. You want to talk a little Cleveland?
There's no kickouts of the game?
It's the whole game. The kickouts.
I think it's the 4th and 1 decision on the 35.
Yeah, I like that.
Real quick.
I like that.
Dirty. We talked about it already. Wasn't smart.
Yep. All the same stuff. Play calling. 4th and 1 calls. Bad in the red zone. All the same problems that we've had all year. We've got this offensive coordinator who's been here collecting.
The Red Rocket's going to turn it all around for us, son. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
We're dying our head red this week.
Oh, my God. What we're going to do is we're going to sneak out like a 13-10 win over Cleveland next week, and that's perfect segue. Let's get into the Cleveland preview. Usually assign the scouting report to me. It's pretty simple. They've got a great running back in Nick Chubb who started the season off on historical pace and has since cooled off a ton because teams went, wait a second. This team cannot throw the ball. And they just stacked the box on them. Right. They forced them to throw. You hoped, if you were a Browns fan, you hoped that Deshaun Watson maybe would give you the opportunity to open the field up a little bit. He's been terrible since coming
he had
back.
a really rough week this past week.
Terrible. So
less than 50% passing. I mean, turnovers. Yeah.
I mean, Brissett, as of right now, is the better quarterback.
Yeah. And
he's not going to be the one starting.
Yeah. Well, let's hope he doesn't have his get well game against us.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to give him that opportunity, but because obviously the physical talent has still got to be there. It's just a matter of him not having played for a while. But yeah, it's a
game we should win.
It's a game we should win, and at this point in the season, a game that we should win really makes me nervous. In some kind of sick way, I'd almost feel better going down to Philly again. In some kind of sick and twisted way, even
Yeah,
though
you're
Gardner
crazy.
Minshew's over there. Because
That's another one of those wild Dominic statements.
it sounds like that on the surface, but listen to me here. Let me paint you a picture. We're 7-5. We got the Giants, a bye week, Giants again, 49ers. We say all we got to do is split these Giants games. We tie one and we lose the next one. And we're going, there's no way we don't split these Giants games. That's why I'm saying I'd rather have a team that I know we're getting up for. The Browns make me nervous, especially with Carson Wentz in there. You look at what Carson Wentz did against Jacksonville in that last game of the year.
It's not ideal to have a quarterback change in this situation, regardless of anything. You know, it's that creates a challenging environment if that's indeed the way it ends up going.
Especially
we're recording this on Monday, so we don't know yet.
Especially when you're looking at Myles Garrett, one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL, going against our offensive line.
Every week we talk about one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. Every freaking week, there's a guy on the other side of the line. I don't know if there's 30, what do we play? How many different teams do we play? 12, 13 different teams in the season? Like, look, you're always going to face good players. Yeah, you got to step up and stop those guys. And you got to also realize that you shouldn't leave your tackle to single block,
Myles Garrett.
They're stars.
It's fair.
Like, because he's not good enough. Our players, we just anyway, it comes down to coaching in those situations. But I'm tired of hearing about how good the other guys are. We got to outplay them. This is a game. Look, at the end of the day, we don't beat the Cleveland Browns at home. We don't deserve to go anywhere this year. Just pack up the season and let's give it all up. So they got to come out. They got to play. I believe that this is a game that we should win. I'm not going to say we are going to win, but I think coming off those last couple of weeks, they just need to play a solid performance, and they need to cut down on the number of errors and the number of back-breaking plays and penalties or whatever you have it. If you look at these last 3 games, that's been the killer. It's been the killer turnover at the wrong time. It's been the poor coaching decision at the wrong time, and we've shot ourselves in the foot just as much as that other team has beaten us, right? And that's what we got to keep. We've got to go out there and win the game.
100%.
Don't forget, the team that plays better is going to win the game.
That right there is the classic, profound pop breakdown. The team that plays better is going to win the game. So do you want to do things a pop, Keys?
Absolutely.
It's kind of a double pod, so I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, all right, let's get into it. So you got yours written down.
Yep.
I'm going to do mine, jazz, improvise. So you go ahead. You get started with yours.
Whoever it ends up being, we need good quarterback play. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Wow. Better team's going to win, and we need good quarterback play.
We need good quarterback play.
Starting off deep.
I want the defense to turn back to being a dominant performance, right? Clearly dominating the offense, force the Browns into, turnovers, keep Deshaun Watson down. Clearly a lot of rust there. Make sure that he continues to have poor performances against Commanders. And we got to coach better. I mean, simple, and I'm not just saying it's also offensive play calling, get back to what we do well on defense with the 5-man fronts and pressuring the quarterback and stopping the run. Do what we do well, which is focus on the run game first. Don't just because Carson comes back in and he has a better arm, if that's indeed what happened, that all of a sudden we're just slinging it all over the field. Stick with what got us here. And, D-line has to dominate. But also it's those decisions in those critical situations. When do you go for it? When do you kick an onside kick? Who kicks an onside kick with 5 minutes and a half left in the game? Why? Down 10. Just give them another touchdown, right? It's those decisions that Ron, it seems like every other game or every third game has a problem with those crucial decisions in those crucial moments. And forget the Riverboat Ron crap. Make the right decision at the right time of the game. And it's so key. He's going to have to coach better, and the coordinator's going to have to coach better for us to win this game.
I love it. Yeah, so basically good quarterback play, good coaching. And what was your second one? I spaced on it.
Defense.
Yep. I'm with you on all those. I agree. I think with the Riverboat Ron stuff, it's fascinating because I feel like this year, and of course I'm biased because it's been going bad recently, but there's been way more times that we've got burnt by it than it's won us the football
agree.
game. Well, when you look at the plays that have defined and won us the football game, it's been big individual plays like that Kendall Fuller interception in Atlanta. It's been stuff like that. And
if you're an underdog and you have a great drive, and it's disappointing to be in the red zone and not score, but take your 3 points, take the lead. It's just an example, right? It's just the situational calls, and the situation is just, you're going up against a great defensive line. Maybe trying to run it in at that point isn't going to work. We got to make better situational decisions.
I have a general philosophy with stuff like going for it on fourth down, and onside kicks and that kind of thing, which is don't do it unless you have to. These are low probability, low odds situations, and the whole reason they're so low probability and low odds is that the rules are skewed in a way that these are supposed to be exciting plays that only happen when your back is up against the wall.
Right.
So don't put your back up against the wall when you don't have to.
Well, you also, like in a situation like that, who's winning the line of the scrimmage? So in a situation where we go for 4th and 1.
That's a big one.
Who's winning the line of scrimmage the whole game? Who's been winning the line of scrimmage? It's been the defensive line of San Francisco. By the way, not a surprise. Our offensive line is not very good. So you have to know that when you decide whether or not you're going for it or not. There's got to be that level of confidence, and like you said, what's the probability of us converting? And those decisions just have to be better. They can't just be automatic. Well, if it's 4th and 1, we're just going to go for it because I'm Riverboat Ron.
Yep.
And
that's definitely how it's felt.
You're not helping your team like that.
That's definitely how it's felt. So I'll get into my 3 keys. Key number 1 for us is going to be secondary play, in my opinion. I like the matchup of our defensive line on their offensive line. Chase Young coming back in healthy is going to be great. I saw even David Mayo get his name called a couple times in the last game. Linebacker play has actually been, we were so worried about it going into the year. It's been solid. I think we start to see the defense fall apart when we see injuries to Benjamin St-Juste and to Cam Curl, and I think it just reminds us, and we started to see the defense get good when we got rid of William Jackson and Benjamin St-Juste really started to step into his own. I think it just reminds us the guys can get to the quarterback if they have 3 seconds. But if the quarterback can get the ball out in 2.5 seconds every play, there's nothing we can do about it. And that's a lot of what San Francisco did to us. So secondary play is going to be number 1 for me. I think it's going to be crucial. Whether or not it's Benjamin St-Juste or we get Danny Johnson back there, or whether or not it's Derek Forrest starting or Cam Curl, I don't know exactly what's going on with that. It's Monday, a little early for that. But that's going to be my number 1 for sure, secondary play. Number 2 is going to be we got to get back to the ground game, and we got to find a way to establish the run. It was driving me crazy against San Francisco because it's just so funny that, like, Turner, he wants to run every exotic run in the book against the Giants, who were gashing for 9 yards a carry to Brian Robinson. All we have to do is run an inside zone to Brian Robinson, and it's a first down against the New York Giants. So what do? Jet sweep to Samuel. We're going to hand it to Robinson, and then he's going to pitch it to Samuel, and then he's going to go behind the back, and then Clinton Portis is going to come out of the stands and run it for a touchdown. It's just all kinds of crazy stuff. And then against the 49ers, all we do is belly left, belly right to Brian Robinson against the best team in the league against goal belly left, belly right. It's crazy. So
a scouting report was if they were vulnerable, it was on those inside runs, but it wasn't working.
They're not vulnerable.
You got to adjust.
That's the thing. If they're vulnerable, if they're only maybe the 5th best team in the NFL, it's on the inside, but they're the 1st best on the outside. Come on, they're still better than anybody you're going to face. So stupid run calling, and we got to get back to establishing the run game. The more the ball is out of Carson Wentz or Taylor Heineke's hands, the better it is for this football team no matter what. So let's keep that ball out of Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke's hands. Let's run the football. Let's get some proper run designs. And you know what? Afangul, Kikat's the scouting report. If you're going inside, and you're getting half a yard, 1 yard, 2 yards, and you're only getting those yards because Brian Robinson can move 15 men in one go to the outside. Have Samuel come around. Come on, I know Turner he can't wait to get to that. Get to that. Find a way to run the football against the Cleveland Browns. That's number 2. And number 3 for me is going to be, you said it, it's going to come down to the quarterback play. That's really, at the end of the day, next week. Yeah, there is a way we can play time of possession and keep the ball out of Cleveland's hands and really run the ball. But at the end of the day, I think we're going to have better quarterback play than we've had in these last 3 weeks. And all the eyes are going to be on Carson Wentz. And they won't say it. They won't allude to it. They'll deny. But Ron wants to prove himself right. Scott wants to prove himself right. They want to show that they did the right thing. And the Cleveland Browns are going to be the team to do that against. So, Carson, here's your chance, buddy.
Buona fortuna.
Get it right. Get it right, for the love of God, please. So that's our keys. I think all good stuff all around.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, the team that plays best will win the game.
Don't forget it.
Don't forget that.
Don't forget it.
Um,
Diamond Pop T-shirts.
There you go. Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, show us some love. Who knows? Maybe Diamond Pop T-shirt. Make a request for one. Maybe we'll get them to you. Right now, they're kind of friends and family situation, but with where our subscriber count's at, it's kind of, we're all friends and family at this point. At this point in the
that's going to change.
Journey. But so, Bada Bets, is it that time?
It is.
It is that time. So, last week did not go particularly hot for us. Pop was 1-3. I was 2-2. We got the Monday night game tonight, so we'll see how that goes. So I gained a game back on Pop, but it's still looking rough. Pop 34-35. 2 pushes. I am 30-39 and 2 pushes
on
for
a
the
bit
season.
of a slide, but it's time for a turnaround.
There we go. Time for a turnaround. So the remaining game, we both picked the Chargers -4.5 at the Colts. We'll see how that one goes. This one is Huevos on the line for me. This is my fantasy season comes down to this matchup tonight, and Keenan Allen not doing well. So, Stephon Gilmore, do what you do. Do what you do, please.
On the verge of the finals.
On the verge of a championship appearance. I think this will be my first championship appearance in the Fan Bam League.
That'd be great.
Be
Good
exciting.
luck, son.
So, we need Stephon Gilmore to do what he does there. Week
I can't
17,
pick sides because you're up against, my brother, your uncle.
It's hard.
And I'm still upset about losing. So.
It's mainly the
That's
second
mainly
one.
that one.
Yeah. I'm talking to him last night about how
I really
make
don't
it to
give
the
a
second.
damn
Goes,
what
"Don't
these
start.
guys do.
Don't start. Don't start. He's been talking to me all season long. His team's watching from the couch. Don't start. Don't start. Yeah. All right. Let's start with the bottom bets here. Thursday night, Cowboys -9.5 at the Titans. Holy crap. Titans are probably going to be rolling out Malik Willis, just so you understand.
I understand the quarterback situation, but I just can't give up 9.5 points. Every time I give up the big point spread, I seem to lose. So that's my main logic. It's too many points to give the Cowboys.
Taking Dallas. If there's one team that's going to get all those points, it's been the team that's been averaging like 40 points a week for the last.
Titans are going to figure it
4
out.
weeks.
Keep it within 9.5.
What can you do? I'm taking Dallas there, so there's a game I can gain on you now. Sunday, we got Dolphins only -1.5 at the Patriots. New England probably figures to be cold. It's a warm weather team. What do you think, Pop?
Yeah, I like the Dolphins. I'm going to go with who I think's the better team, and it's only 1.5.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I mean, the Dolphins have been...
Tua's got to play better, though.
Yeah, Tua's got to play better. Tua definitely gave that game away in Green Bay. Was not just some horrible throws. So I'm going to take the Dolphins as well. I'm with you on that one. Now we got Sunday, Vikings at Packers. Am I reading that right? Are the Packers 3-point favorites?
As of right now.
I'm going to hammer that with real money and take the Vikings.
I like the Vikings, too.
Yeah, I mean...
Plus, it'll help us.
I don't know how you favor the Packers by 3 points there, but Vegas has been picking against the Vikings, and the Vikings
Packers had a good week.
Sliding a little bit, so we'll see. Sunday Night Football, this has been flexed. Steelers at Ravens. Ravens 3-point favorites. Why has this been flexed? What is going on in Pittsburgh that this is worth?
I guess Pittsburgh has actually got a chance of making the playoffs.
Is Pittsburgh making a push?
Yeah.
Stop paying attention. I know Trubisky took back over there.
Yeah.
I think.
I'm going with our Raiders insider information. That's what he told me because I asked him the exact same question. I said, why was the game flexed? And he said that Pittsburgh actually has a chance. So
Mike Tomlin. Never count him out. What do you like there, Pop?
Ravens.
Confident pick for Tyler Huntley. I'm thinking
Lamar could make it back for this game. We'll see.
We
don't know yet.
Makes it hard to pick.
If
Lamar's back, you got to go Lamar for sure. So if anybody's tailing my advice, I don't know why you're doing that, but I'm going to take Pittsburgh because I need a win. I need to get back ahead of you, And if Lamar does not go, which I don't think he's going to, it's my guess, then I think I like Pittsburgh in this one. I just like Mike Tomlin versus a backup quarterback. I like that matchup. But if Lamar does go, I would go with the Ravens if you're tailing my picks. But I'm going to officially lock in my bottom bets pick, Steelers.
Okay.
Just so you understand.
Thanks for taking us through that.
Yeah.
It was riveting.
If you're tailing my picks, just call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's
You
just
should be
bad.
fading Dominic.
Don't do that. If you're if you're tailing either of our picks, we're hovering around 500. There's better people out there.
Hey, we'll get there.
Monday Night Football, Bills -1 at Bengals. What do you like, Pop?
Bills.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bengals here.
All right.
I'm gonna go with the Bengals here. It's a crazy
chance. There's a lot. I think there's 3 games we picked different.
crazy pick, but I really like the Bengals. I was doing some morning reading today, and I saw the Bengals are plus 800 for a futures pick to win the Super Bowl. So
Where exactly were you when you were doing the morning reading?
that's the delivery of morning reading was to imply where I was when I was doing the morning reading.
Let's not take that any farther.
I was atoning for my sins last night. Let's leave it at that. But yeah, Bengals. I'm going to take the Bengals there.
Okay.
I like the Bengals. Yeah, and then fantasy update. We already talked about fantasy, so we're pretty much,
Are we
Pop.
going for an hour and a half pod today?
Yeah, going for 90 minutes.
No.
Going for 90 minutes. So
I think we wrap it up. I think we just got to show the shirts.
yeah, please like, comment, subscribe.
All right, son. End it right.
So, well, without further ado, up and Dom.
This is Pop.
Thanks for another great week, guys.